Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of News of the Pews, your source for the finest two-way propaganda. Let's start things off with some good news today. It appears as though the Supremes are not remotely impressed with Hawaii's vampire rule. Wolford versus Lopez is in oral arguments right now, and the state is struggling to attempt to justify a Hawaiian law which preemptively bans gun owners from any private establishment without express permission. So, kind of like a vampire, you couldn't come in unless you were invited. But the aloha spirit isn't codified in the US Constitution, and the justices were hitting the state's lawyers with a lot of questions, which tends to indicate they're not buying what the lawyers are selling. Alito flat out told them, "You're just relegating the Second Amendment to second-class status." Of course, it's too early to make any solid predictions, but when the justices push hard like this, it usually doesn't bode well for the team answering the questions. And let's be honest, there is no timeline in which you could justify a similar law banning people from entering a business while wearing a yarmulke or holding a copy of Catcher in the Rye. The Second Amendment is not a second-class right, so if it wouldn't work when you swap in some other enumerated right, then the law is unconstitutional.
That dog won't hunt.
But hey, it would be impossible for us to produce quality two-way propaganda without you. So if you are in a comfortable place in life, please help us stay in a comfortable place in life by contributing to our tip jars down there in the doobly-doo or joining our channel. Now at this point, I'm sure you've probably heard all you care to hear about that guy the feds iced in Minneapolis for simply possessing a gun while hurting a cop's fifis. I'm not here to talk about that shooting in particular, but I will point out once again that if simple possession of a firearm is enough to get you shot, then the government absolutely does not recognize your right to bear arms.
But that's not important right now.
The real reason I'm bringing it up, though, has little to do with the actual shooting. I just wanted to give you a heads up on which gun rights groups sided with We the People and which one is not really activist. The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus issued a statement saying every peaceable Minnesotan has the right to keep and bear arms, including while attending protests, acting as observers, or exercising their First Amendment rights. The Second Amendment Foundation said, "The claim that some are now making that the peaceable carry of a firearm near officers is enough to justify them using lethal force is an affront to the Second Amendment rights of all Americans." And based as always, the FPC and GOA similarly condemned the feds. But I am confident it will come as no surprise to you to find out the boomer fuds at the NRA seem to defend the feds by saying, "For months, radical progressive politicians like Tim Walz have incited violence against law enforcement officers who are simply trying to do their jobs." Or at least that's how I assume they sound.
You have to let us in!
Later, they seem to walk that back just a little bit by calling for a full investigation while criticizing U.S. Attorney Bill Essayli for saying cops are justified in shooting somebody for approaching them with a gun. Unsurprisingly, the users on X provide a far more pointed rebuttal, simply pointing out that the Second, Fourth, and 14th Amendments prohibit officers from shooting citizens merely for possessing a weapon. U.S. Representative Squeezy Mafumi, yeah, that's actually what his goofy ass looks like, just introduced a bill that would ban online ammo sales. H.R. 584 would require face-to-face purchases of ammunition, licensing of ammo dealers, and reporting for bulk purchases. If you're not sure why this is a bad thing, go ahead and wipe that drool off your chin while I explain. See, ammo lasts a really long time when you don't store it in a swamp, so it's impossible to magic away enough ammo to stop people from getting murked in the streets. That only takes a handful of bullets. Instead, what it does is make it very difficult for responsible gun owners to become safe and proficient in the use of arms.
I wanted this to work so much.
Ironically, it means there is a very real possibility that somebody gets killed when a poorly trained shooter misses his or her intended target. Still, it's not likely to get anywhere in the current political climate. The red team theoretically controls both houses, but even though it isn't going anywhere, I urge you to still call your Congress critters at 202-224-3121 and tell them to stop H.R. 584. Not because we're worried it will get anywhere, but because doing that keeps your reps on notice that you are watching them and malfeasance will not be tolerated. So Saddam Aslan Salim has introduced SB 749 in Virginia, and it's like a nuclear ban that comes close to banning all semi-auto firearms. That's like most guns. Most guns are self-loading. Absolute madness.
This is madness!
And this one really does have some legs on it. The blue team controls both houses, so we have to convince Democrats that this bill goes too far. The way to do that is to speak on the issues important to Democrats. Tell them this law would endanger marginalized groups. All gun laws are disproportionately enforced against minorities and poor people, but a law like this can easily make a criminal out of someone who had no idea the law changed. If you're not politically plugged in, you won't even know the law changed. And regardless of whether they think it's still a good idea, it obviously won't hold up in court under the Bruin precedent either. And you know what? It's gonna take a lot of us pulling for our brothers and sisters in Virginia. So no matter where you live, please go to vga.virginia.gov and click member listings, then Senate, or just follow the link in the doobly-doo. But call as many of the fine barrel-aged politicrators as you can while you drop a deuce. Well, folks, round's complete on 2, but before I go, your moment of completion. I love you.
Hasn't anyone told you? Awkward. Allied guns, they're shit. Yeah.
I'm not sure that's quite accurate.
Like Allied rifles then. No, it's common knowledge that they're all rubbish.
What about the M1 Garand, eh? That's pretty good stuff, innit?
Allied soldiers would give it a thumbs down if they had any thumbs left.